Carrie Bradshaw is a cautionary tale about what happens when you have a friend who centers men. I haven't talked about and just like that yet, and honestly, part of it is because I'm bored out of my mind. I pretty much care about everyone but Carrie at this point, but that's based on me going back and watching all of the seasons of Schmegs in the City and realizing that Carrie is a terrible friend. She's always been a terrible friend because she centers men. And she's the reason why Miranda ended up with Steve, the ultimate king baby. All that was because of her. I've already talked about that in other videos, but I can talk about that again if you want. But I loved this scene right here because Carrie got called out, but in the nicest way possible. And I love this scene. Now, I don't like the way that somehow it makes it seem like this is a Seema problem. This is a Carrie problem. But I do think Seema set a really good example of how you need to not have friends who center men at any age. Because, you know, when you're in your 20s and 30s, those women disappear into marriage and then they disappear into parenthood because women who center men tend to have really selfish husbands who don't do jack to help raise those kids. So then those moms end up being pretty like drowning in parenthood, right? Because a lot of their husbands know that they center men and that they'll do anything to keep a man, including literally everything that he should be doing. But even apparently in your 50s, you have to watch out for women who center men, even if they've just experienced the death of their terrible husband that they never should have been with, but for some reason we're supposed to believe was like a beautiful love story, which it wasn't. The revisionist history in this is just, it's insane. Big sucked. And I mean, I've made like 12 videos about how much Big sucked, how much Carrie sucked, and how much, I mean, I never did my stories on my videos on Aiden because I had like probably an hour worth of stuff to say about Aiden and Carrie's relationship. But just to summarize, she's a big old bitch. And you know, Aiden was dumb for not like noticing that she didn't care about him. Like, fool me once, right? But when you like let your girlfriend who cheated on you with her ex bring her ex up to your farmhouse because they're best friends, like, dude, what's wrong with you? Anyway, for some reason, we're supposed to believe that Aiden and Carrie are going to be together. Either way, Carrie does not do well when she's not dating men or obsessing about men. So, of course, as soon as someone from her past that she should never have been with and should still not be with comes swooping back in, wee. And Seema is like, what is wrong with you? Now, luckily, she had some help from Miranda, who has been someone else but Miranda for most of this show, this new reboot. Miranda is my favorite character, and Miranda and Samantha are honestly the example of, like, good friends. Even Charlotte's a pretty good friend, but Miranda's the hero of the show, her and Samantha. Now, do they have some problems and sometimes and, like, are not the best? Sure. But Miranda is who literally taught me in my 20s how to be a friend. What that looks like. What it looks like to care so much for your friend that you consider them family and that you call your friends out when they're being nuts and doing something really self-destructive, which she did to Carrie all the time. And Carrie was like, wait a minute, you're being judgmental. I honestly don't even understand why these two are friends. Miranda deserves a better, why are you ever friends with her? I don't get it. But anyway, at this lunch, Miranda's like, don't you hate like country houses and stuff? Because Carrie is already talking about moving for Aiden. Now y'all know this. I made 2 videos today about don't move for a man or don't have long distance relationships in general because it usually doesn't work out well for women. Whether the man moves for you or you move for him, it usually doesn't work out well, but especially if the woman moves for him. And so, of course, Carrie's like, I know, I'll move to Virginia. Have you ever been to the South? You think a New York City woman is going to be dude, I'm from the South. You're going to hate it there. And Carrie's like, you know, next time he's up, I was thinking I may go back with him and visit his kids. They've been together for a month doing like weird, whatever you call it, staying in a hotel. And then, by the way, she convinces Che to illegally rent out their Airbnb so that her and Aiden keep doing this thing. Because Aiden can't be reminded of how much Carrie sucks by being in her apartment. But he can somehow, he can somehow put some distance between that as long as he doesn't have to hang out with her there. In a hotel, he can be like, oh, right, this is a different person. No, she's not. She's the same. Now, look at Seema's face. She's like, Even Charlotte's like, wow, this is great. But you can tell she's like, this is a little fast, isn't it? It's only been a month. And good old Miranda finally shows up. You're going to go to Virginia? He's like, yeah, look, I want to meet his boys. He has 3 children. Why are you meeting his kids? That is really irresponsible. You should not be meeting someone's kids that fast. That is so selfish of both of them, by the way. But Carrie has never wanted to be a mom. So what, is she going to marry Aiden and commute back and forth from New York to Virginia and parent teenage boys? Who are you kidding? You're already a terrible godparent to your best friend. And Carrie's like, I don't know, stupid joke, chicken egg, blah. Look, Seema's like, wait, he has kids? I love this face. He's like, yeah. And Carrie, like usual, just moves on past that part. He's a textile designer, blah, blah, blah. And then Carrie reveals that she's already planning on moving down there with this dude. She's like, oh my God, I looked up farmhouses in Norfolk and oh my God, look at that. Even Charlotte's like, Birch, what is wrong with you? And she's like, well, it's supposed to be a beautiful house. I Googled it. She's already planning to move into this farmhouse she hasn't seen yet, based on some photos she found on Google. And then she's like, well, last time I was traumatized by the shack upstate. Yeah, that shack that you brought Big to. You had them fighting in the mud over you. And you had Big crying about his actress girlfriend to you. And you're like, but I have to help him, Aiden. But Miranda's like, oh, there's the Carrie. You hate the country. What's wrong with you? Carrie hates the country in New York. I lived in New Paltz for a while. Where Carrie is not that far from there. That part of New York is still very leftist. You know what I mean? New York is actually a very conservative state in a lot of it. But everything within an hour and a half of the city is still, We got a lot of city folks. Virginia? You're gonna move to Virginia? And she's like, yeah, I know what his house looks like because I Googled vintage blah. She talks about Howard's Inn, blah. Seema's like, I gotta look at this. She's like, it's only an hour and a half commute by plane, blah, 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 blah. And if Emma Thompson could do it for Anthony Hopkins, blah, 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 I can commute for Aiden. Girl, you're doing too much. You've always done too much. You are a desperate woman who needs male approval and will screw over all your friends in order to get that. And Miranda chimes in, yeah, but Emma Thompson didn't do it for a man. See, now that's my Miranda. There you go. She's back. But she would have if it was Aiden. Dude, she has spent... God! Seema's like, yeah. And Charlotte's like, oh my God, you're gonna... God, don't ever listen to advice from Charlotte. Charlotte, the hopeless romantic, always kind of rooted for Big, so her opinion doesn't matter. Bad judgment. And Charlotte's like, well, it is moving pretty fast. And then Carrie gives this whole what's about what? This woman can justify anything that's a terrible idea. You can justify any of it. Why slow down? Why not? Why slow down? Look, this is what drives me crazy. It's been decades and this woman hasn't changed one bit. She's the same person. The whole point of storytelling is a narrative arc where the hero comes out the other end, a changed person. You haven't changed, Carrie. You're still an insecure woman with daddy issues, which we don't even know what they are because you haven't opened up about anything. You can find all your validation in men and screw over all your girlfriends every time. Even convince them to date terrible people like Steve. It just feels so right. Anyway, she's like, can I take y'all to dinner? We want to take you to blah, blah. Seema's like, yeah, sure, maybe. Oh, and by the way, you dummy, you're looking at houses in the UK. Yeah, dream away, girl. So then Carrie's like, I've been wondering, was the whole Big thing a mistake? Yes. And so is this. Anyway, we see this whole scene with how happy they are. Picking out cutlery. This is the old Carrie that drove me crazy. Surprised she's not squeaking. Whatever she used to do drove me crazy. The older she got, the more they made her act like a child. Drove me crazy. Anyway, back to this scene. Seema finally calls her out and is like, dude, I'm canceling this summer. I don't want to hang out with you and your boyfriend. Because that's not fun for me. Carrie's like, he won't be there all the time and I swear you'll love him. And this line right here, take notes. Yeah, okay, I'm sure I love him. But I won't love how I feel about myself when he's there. This is the energy. This is the energy, y'all. Can't tell women like Carrie, hey, I think you're being stupid and selfish and ditching me for a man. Because Carrie just doesn't listen. What you can say is, I don't want to go because I'll feel bad about myself. And you can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. And you don't need to say all this other stuff that she said. Keep it at that. I don't want to. That's it, y'all.